Our second story of the day is Frank Cho quits DC in.
Yes, this is quitting DC as the variant cover artist for the Wonder Woman line. Man, it has just not been a good couple years for variant artists, variant cover artists.
Yeah.
This coming from bleedingcool.com. Frank Cho was a number of A-list comic book artists commissioned by DC Comics to create 24 variant covers for the first year of their relaunch twice monthly comic books. I guess they're doing this whole thing again. I'm not a DC reader, so I don't know what's going on. So basically, Cho walks away from this, and and apparently he wants. Well, let's start from the beginning. He talks to Bleeding Cool and issues a statement to BleedingCool.com about why he's left Wonder Woman after just 6 covers. Here it is. Quote, all the problem lies with Greg Rucka, who is the Wonder Woman...
Rucka.
Called
Rucka.
out.
Rucka.
Yeah, Rucka. Excuse me. Who is the writer of Wonder Woman. Everyone who says this, apparently they have him quoted in caps on this one, loves my Wonder Woman covers and wants me to stay. Greg Rucka is the only one who has any problem with the covers. Greg Rucka has been trying to alter and censor my artwork since day one. Greg Rucka, can we just play a drinking game with how many times he mentions the man's name?
He wants no doubt. No doubt in anyone's mind.
My Wonder Woman number 3 cover was vulgar and showed too much skin and has been spearheading censorship, which is baffling since my Wonder Woman image is on model and shows the same amount of skin as the interior art. And it's a variant cover, again, in all caps. And he should have no editorial control over it. But he does. WTF. I tried to play nice, not rock the boat, and do my best on the covers, but Greg's weird political agenda against me and my art has made the job impossible. Wonder Woman was the only reason I came to DC Comics. To DC's credit, especially art director Mark... Oh, God, another one of these names I can't... Chiarello, I think. Chiarello. Yeah. They have been very accommodating, but they are caught in between a rock and a hard place. I just want to be left alone and do my Wonder Woman variant covers in peace, but Greg Rucka is in a hostile power trip and causing unnecessary friction over variant covers. So this kicked off craziness immediately after he walked away. And basically, the industry seemed to draw battle lines and literally hashtags for... I mean, see, that article dropped, excuse me, let me just do... That came out the 14th. The next day, on the 15th, BleedingCool.com has just reaction from everyone across the spectrum, people going Team Frank Cho with all these hashtags, other people just being incredibly angry at him, calling themselves Team Rucka, people going as far as to say Cho's work is sleazy, he's fake empowerment, and goodbye and good riddance, while others decry censorship. And it continued on and on and on and on, where Cho's favorite internet outlet, the Mary Sue, actually reached out for him, and he gave a really, really lengthy statement as to what's happened.
Fairly reasonable, I felt.
Yeah, so let's read it. Let me read it here. I got it printed out in front of me because I couldn't, when I printed it out off the website, it didn't work. So, and he's not a fan of the Mary Sue. In another
and they're not really a fan of his either.
No, they are really not. They've been out for blood, his blood, for a while. And he, in a interview when they announced he's leaving DC, Bleeding Cool did an interview with him. This is Dateline, May 3rd, 2016. It's a fairly good interview between him and Bleeding Cool. They ask him, Bleeding Cool says, there has been plenty of social media criticism. You were painted as the worst choice for the series, I think talking about Wonder Woman, embodying all that is sexist and skeevy about comic books. Is it possible your covers will put women off the comic or simply send the wrong message about the book? And Cho's response is, as a lifelong liberal Democrat and advocate for free speech and equal rights, it fascinates me to see when ultra-liberals become ultra-conservatives, where they see injustices everywhere and cease to see reason. He goes on and on and on, talks about his huge female fan base, and then he continues, they are absolutely wonderful, and they don't share the hateful political views of Mary Sue and the Comics Alliance sites. And the full interview will be up there. I won't go through the entire thing. It's extensive. But his statement to the Mary Sue kind of, it's almost a page long when you print it out, cracks it open, and he says, "Since you've asked me a straight question, honest, uh, I'm going to answer honestly as possible from my point of view." So he already detects animus between him and the Mary Sue, but he's going to be straightforward with them. He goes on. Wonder Woman was my dream job at DC. At DC Comics. I love and respect the character very much. When I was invited by DC to draw the 24 variant covers for Wonder Woman, I was ecstatic. I was told that I had complete freedom on the variant covers, and with the only person in charge of me was the senior art director, Mark. What's his name again? Chiarello?
Mm-hmm.
Chiariello?
Yep.
I gotta practice names before I read this crap. Who I greatly respect. Win-win for everyone. Now the variant covers are handled by an entirely separate editorial office than the rest of the books. I was given assurance that I would not have to deal with the Wonder Woman book writer or editor at all, and we're told I would only be dealing with Mark. With Mark. So I came on board and started working right away. Everything went smoothly at first. I turned in my first batch of cover sketches, and Mark approved them, and I started finishing and inking them ASAP since these were bi-weekly covers and we had limited time. Then Mark started getting notes from Greg Rucka ordering him to tell me to alter and change things on the covers. Remove an armband, make the skirt longer, and cover her up a bit, stop showing too much skin, add a lasso here, etc. Well, Mark and I were baffled and annoyed by Rucker's art change orders. More so, since the interior pages were showing the same amount or more skin than my variant covers. And he gives an example. I requested that Mark Rucka back off and let me do my variant covers in peace. After all, these were minor and subjective changes. Let's face it, being told by a non-artistic freelancer what I can and cannot draw didn't sit too well with me. Then things got ugly. Apparently, unbeknownst to Mark and myself, or me, DC, for whatever reason, gave Mark Rucka complete and total editorial control on Wonder Woman, including variant covers by contract. My promises of creative freedom were verbal. I think this is a case of complete miscommunication and things falling through the cracks during the post-DC headquarter move to Los Angeles. Had I known Mark Rucka had complete editorial control over the variant covers, I would have never come on board Wonder Woman. Since we were on the same team with the same goal, making great Wonder Woman comics, Mark and I tried to reason with Greg Rucka to back off and let me do variant covers in peace. But Rucka refused and tried to hammer me in line. Things escalated and got toxic very fast. The act of a freelance writer art directing me, overruling my senior art director, altering my artwork without consent was too much. I realized after Rucka's problems with my Wonder Woman 3 variant cover, my excitement and desire for the project have completely disappeared, and I decided to bow out quietly after I finished my Wonder Woman number 4 variant cover. This is around the end of May. But DC wanted me to stay on and finish out number 5 and number 6 covers to give them time to find a replacement. So I stuck it out, tried to deal with the flagrant disrespect for 6 issues, and quietly stepped off until Bleeding Cool gave me little choice but to respond. They caught wind that there was some discord in the Wonder Woman office over my covers and was about to cast negative light on the wrong people. So I went public yesterday and set the story straight, correctly naming Greg Rucka as the source of the problem before the wrong information was published. So that's that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm a little torn on this one. I think Gail Simone kind of put it best that, yes. So Frank Cho has responded publicly. Greg Rucka has completely refused to comment at all.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, basically said, his choice his non-involvement is his choice, and not anyone else's. Like, nobody else has a right to know, which I thought was an interesting stance to take. But instead of just not commenting, but I think, like I said, Gail Simone kind of said it best. we really don't know what's actually going on.
Mhm.
Obviously, there is some dispute, and I think Frank Cho at least has some justification for being unhappy with the number 3 variant cover. So and we'll put up the image between the original sketch and the final cover, but basically they cropped in the bottom and right hand side of the image to
They basically tried to cover up her butt.
yeah.
Well, and to play devil's advocate, although I agree with you that if the writer on the comic is actually has editorial privileges on the variant cover, which seems a little odd, I can see why that would really tick off an artist. I really can see that. However, I think that the issue with this is not so much even that she's showing so much skin, but more that she's showing her panty line, which
but again,
that seems a little in bad taste to me. But
okay,
I'm not even certain that's her panty line. That could just be shorts.
yeah,
but I mean,
guess.
regardless, I think the issue is that Frank Cho, in good faith, made this finished art, and then without his consent, they trimmed it. They cut it.
After it had been apparently approved by his senior editor.
Well, I don't know about that part, but yeah, it was changed without his consent, and that part, that's the part I agree with him in terms of taking issue on.
So let's clear at least one thing up, because we covered this on our censorship issue. I actually think the calls of censorship are a little overblown, provided, again, what Cho knew about who had editorial control or not. So when you enter into a contract, and he said his was verbal, but when you enter into an agreement with someone who is the editor, they have final say over what you produce. You are their employee, and they're your client. So you have to produce something that they have the final say over. So it's not a censorship issue in that case, right? As far as I'm concerned.
No, I don't think it's a censorship issue. I think
right, but that's something that's come up. So I wanted to clear.
Well, that's because people throw the word censorship around without having a full understanding of what they're saying.
Which is why I just said what I said. That's why I wanted to clear that up. The other thing, though, is if Cho had no idea that this was going to happen, and he basically says, if I knew that these were the conditions of my employment, I wouldn't have agreed to it. He has every right to just walk away. He says, okay, if these are the conditions, I don't have to do this. See ya. And that's it. I think this is basically the way the marketplace of ideas work out, is once he understood the conditions of his employment fully, and I understand that he probably would have been super pissed when he got blindsided with these notes of like, who the hell is this guy? Who are you?
Right.
And he's like, all right, this is not working. The other thing that seems to be suggested is these two guys do not like each other.
No. Although, again, I mean, I don't personally know Rucka.
I don't know either.
I don't know
his name wrong, so I don't know.
I don't know a lot about it. I mean, he's a very talented writer. He did a series called Queen and Country that was British Spy, but like, no shit.
Won him a number of awards.
Yeah, and I've read the first couple of volumes, and it is spectacular. Actually, you would probably really enjoy it because it's not like James Bond kind of spy. It's like no shit CIA MI6 spy. It's very good. I mean, yeah, I think some of his politics bleed through in that. I would not have pegged him as one having a particularly aggressive political agenda.
Yeah.
From what I've read of his. So, again, I don't know the person, so maybe he does. And
yeah, and look, I'll just tell you my bias out front. I'm a huge fan of Cho's. I love his artwork.
No, I think Frank Cho's art is great too.
I've bought a number of his books, and I've met the guy a couple times and spoken to him about similar topics. So I just think there really isn't a fight to be had here. I think those who
it's also odd that it's over a variant cover. I mean, I guess it's not odd, but
well, at this point,
seems...
that's really not an odd thing because it's almost always over a variant cover.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's bad. If you're a variant cover artist, you got to be like, oh man, better put the padding on because it's gonna get crazy. But yeah. I think this is just the way industry, for whatever reason, because we've tinged so much with our art with politics these days. Everything gets thrown in that lens, and I just think it's an artist who was working with a guy who just wasn't working out. He says, okay, this is not, you're trying to tell me how to do my art. I'm not going to stand for it. thanks but no thanks, goodbye. I think that's just the way it should have gone.
Yeah, like I said, I understand why he got upset with the cover,
Yep.
but I also don't. I also see it as him leaving as a non-issue.
Yep.
You know, people are, there are people out there who are celebrating over Frank Cho leaving. And it's like I don't see that as a
yeah.
victory. I think it's just this happens. I mean,
Yeah.
there are plenty of times where a writer or artist will walk away from a series for one reason or another that has nothing to do with politics or anything like that.
His statement was a little bit strongly worded, but it wasn't even.
Well, he's pissed off.
Yeah, it wasn't even. He didn't say anything about Rucka's mom or anything. I mean, this wasn't. They weren't even trading insults. He just sort of gave his version of events. So, yeah.
I see what Andrew's going with. Is people do not like Frank Cho. There is a strong contingent out there that don't like him, and anything that gets him off mainstream books, people are going to be happy about. And anything
It's
that
too
gets
bad
him off,
because even that third variant is beautiful work.
Honestly,
both versions.
No, the first one is fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's gorgeous too.
I can't understand why they would be pissed off about the first one, but
That makes
whatever.
sense.
again, it just felt super personal. But I don't think, and I'll post a couple because he's done a few other things with Wonder Woman where he sent out like sketches. This is also from Bleeding Cool where he recreates. He's done that Manara thing we've talked about before, where she's hanging off the side of the building with her butt sticking out. He's done it with Wonder Woman and Batman looking at her butt, and he's like, hey, I can look at it right here. And he's like, what are you doing? And Wonder Woman's sitting there, go, please go viral, please go viral, trying to boost the popularity of my book. Right? He's been needling the regressives for a while. He's got another one that he sketched out there, and he put out a Wonder Woman looking at her butt, saying, "Great Hera, why does Frank Cho keep drawing me with a giant ass? I miss Adam Hughes. He always drew me with a skinny ass." Like, that stuff to me is funny, but it rubbed people the wrong way.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think Cho is suffering here. I mean, in that interview that I talked to earlier, they asked him, have these scandals hurt you in any way? And his response is, oh, God, no. Quite the opposite. It blew me up into the stratosphere. The traffic on my webpage has tripled. Interest and awareness in my art have gone way beyond the normal comic book community, and people treat me like a rock star at shows. So you know what? Everything to me feels like this played out exactly the way it should have. Nothing to see here, folks. Let's move on.
Yep.